Hello. Yesterday it was 70 degrees in Michigan, and right now it is snowing outside. We have very crazy weather. But I'm here with chapter 26 of The Earl on the Train. When I originally wrote this, chapter 5 or chapter 25 was the end, and I wanted to add these extra couple short chapters to give people uh, an extra sexy time scene and some more closure with what happens to Nick and Ida after they get away from all the uh, drama of their adventure. Chapter 26 Bath Interrupted. London, 1 month later. A perfectly manicured hand caught the bathing chamber door an instant before it closed. Ida tugged her dressing gown back into place as her mother swept into the room. She looked longingly at the massive built-in tub, tendrils of steam rising from its clean, hot water. It was too much to ask, it seemed, to have a chance to wash and relax before her family confronted her. "Ida, darling!" Her mother's exuberant voice reverberated off the tiles. She held her arms out for an embrace. Ida accepted the hug, her nose twitching as she tried to hide her frown. Well, this was unexpected. She couldn't remember the last time anyone in the family had seemed genuinely pleased with her. "It's good to see you, Mamma." "Yes, yes." Lady Quimby stepped back and checked her clothing for wrinkles. "But, darling, you simply must explain yourself. You vanish with nothing more than a note stating that you're going out of the country, and then one Sunday we are sitting in church, and what do we hear? This!" She waved a piece of paper in Ida's face. "Banns of marriage. Between who, might you ask? The Earl of Sharp and Miss Ida Quimby. We were certain it must be a mistake, or a prank by one of your brothers. But then there it was again the next Sunday, and the one after. All without a word from you. What do you have to say for yourself?" Um, yes, I am engaged to Lord Sharp," who would be given a piece of Ida's mind the moment she next saw him. He had arranged to have the banns posted without her knowledge? He had to have sent a message home before they'd left India, which meant before they had become engaged. "Even if he is an arrogant, high-handed," she muttered. "An Earl? Oh, Ida!" Her mother hugged her again, so forcefully that she nearly toppled both of them into the bathtub, where the water was losing its luxurious heat with every second they wasted. "Yes, Mamma. Might we perhaps talk more after I have bathed?" Lady Quimby spared only a momentary glance at the tub. "Yes, yes, but how did you manage to catch him? I thought all hope was lost after that scandal." She scanned Ida head to toe. Ida clutched her robe tighter beneath the scrutiny. "Are you increasing?" "What?" In her shock, Ida lost her hold on her dressing gown, and it gaped open nearly to her navel. "No!" At least, she hadn't been as of 2 weeks ago. She couldn't say what might have happened since. Given the frequency of their intimacies, they were bound to have a child sooner or later. "You cannot blame me for thinking of it. Your reputation is stained, and no noble family desires that sort of notoriety. But Sharp is said to be an honorable man, so I'm certain he would do the right thing by a woman carrying his child." Ida put her hands on her hips, her robe slipping even further to fully expose one breast. She stopped herself from reaching to cover it. Perhaps if she were naked, her mother would let her get on with the bath. "I did not seduce him into marriage. He loves me. Now may I please—" The door flew open again to admit a young housemaid with red cheeks and trembling hands. "I'm so sorry, m'lady." The girl shook so hard she could hardly get her words out. But there's a man in Miss Ida's bedchamber, going through all her clothing and using funny words like cerule something." "Cerulean. It's a shade of blue." Nick's voice sent a shiver of pleasure through Ida even before he filled the doorway. "The color of Miss Quimby's eyes." "You're here," she blurted. "So soon?" He hadn't changed out of his travel clothing. Had he not gone home at all? He had promised to come by to speak with her father and help her select a wedding dress, but she thought he meant tomorrow. At the very least, she had anticipated having the time to bathe. It was as if everyone in her life had conspired to keep her out of that tub. The heat of the water warmed her backside, taunting her. Ida's mother shrieked before Nick could reply. "How dare you intrude upon my daughter in such a fashion? Can you not see this is a bathing chamber and she's in a state of dishabille?" Ida readjusted her dressing gown, but not before she caught the twinkle in his amber eyes. Anticipation, desire, and not a little mischief. "I can indeed," Nick said. "However, it seemed ungentlemanly to remark upon it." Lady Quimby brushed past the still quivering maid and grabbed hold of Nick's lapels. Few people, Ida imagined, would dare touch an Earl in such a fashion. Any who did would push him out of the room. Her mother pulled him further inside. "You have thoroughly compromised her with your boorish behavior. I insist that you marry her." Nick extricated himself from Lady Quimby's grip and gave her a winning smile. "Excellent. How does tomorrow work for you?" "Tomorrow?" Ida squeaked. Her mother stormed from the room, pushing the poor chambermaid in front of her. "Sir Mortimer will be hearing about this." She yanked the door closed, and a moment later Ida heard the click of a turning key. For several seconds Nick and Ida stared together at the closed door. "I do believe your mother has just locked me in this bathing chamber with you." "She is a rather determined sort of woman." A twitch at the corner of Nick's mouth betrayed his amusement. "I don't know anyone like that." "Yes, well, unfortunately we are often at odds. As you can no doubt tell, she very much wishes for me to marry well. She was devastated when I refused all the fortune hunters after the scandal. And I don't think she really believes that you want to marry me. Now, if you will excuse me, I would like to take my bath." Ida shucked her robe and stepped into the tub. Nick shrugged out of his coat. "Would you care for some company?" A quiver of excitement raced through her disloyal body. Much as she longed for his hands on her skin, she wouldn't let him near until she had spoken her piece. "Oh, no, not yet. You have some explaining to do." His fingers stilled on the buttons of his waistcoat. "I meant to go home. I started to go home. I made my driver stop and let me out. I realized I didn't want to live apart from you, not even for a day." "That's very romantic, and I don't mind that you're here, or even that you started already looking for a wedding dress." "The cerulean silk, with the pale pink lace overlay. I like the elegance and the small bustle that will show off your bum." "Oh, that will be perfect. I love that dress and haven't yet had an occasion to wear it. But you're distracting me from the point." Nick's gaze followed the bar of soap as Ida ran it along her arm. "You are distracting me as well." "You posted the banns without telling me." "True." "And you did it before we were officially engaged?" "To be fair, you had already informed your brother that you intended to marry me. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. I wanted to be expeditious. I wasn't joking about tomorrow, Ida. I want to marry you as soon as possible. I want us to be permanent. I want the world to know." He bent to retrieve his coat. "Which is no excuse for not telling you. I had a month to do so. I apologize, and I will go pound on the door until someone lets me out, so you might be left in peace." "No." The coat slipped from his fingers. "You would prefer I stay?" "Yes. Join me." Even after all their time together, Ida still marveled at how quickly Nick could undress himself. Not 1 minute passed by before he was sliding into the tub beside her. "I will install a bath like this in our house," he promised, taking the soap from her hand and sliding it over her neck and chest. "I'll hire a contractor at once." Ida replied, less interested in his plans than in his attention to scrubbing her breasts perfectly clean. "Different tile, though," he murmured. "This looks like a garish Roman bathhouse." "My father has flamboyant tastes." She snagged a washcloth and dragged it slowly along Nick's muscled thigh. "Indeed, but he raised the finest of daughters, so I will forgive him his foibles, and instead admire his intelligence and hard work." Ida's hand froze inches from her target, her amorous intentions momentarily forgotten. "You don't hate my family?" "We are all flawed, Berries. I would be the worst sort of hypocrite to expect perfection of anyone. Your parents didn't cast you out after your scandal, or force you to wed where you did not wish. They may be self-absorbed, and I don't think they understand you at all, but they aren't cruel. And I think they do love you, albeit in a somewhat misguided fashion." "I think so too. They will love you as well, once they get to know you. Now they love your money and your title, but when they see you for who you are, it will become more than that. They will love you for accepting them, when so many do not. I love you for accepting them." He dropped a soft kiss on her lips. "How could I not, when you accept me and all my oddities and weaknesses?" The soap slipped from his hand as he pulled her into a fierce embrace. "My darling, lovely bride-to-be." Ida threaded her fingers through his hair and kissed him fervently, sucking hard on his bottom lip and thrusting her tongue to meet his. Nick groaned and dragged her atop him, lifting her half out of the water. The rush of cool air drew her nipples to taut peaks, and he teased them with gentle flicks of his warm fingers. Ida delved for the soap, groping about in the water until her fingers found the slippery, floral-scented bar. She scrubbed across Nick's chest, over his own hardened nipples, and down to his belly. "You are a dirty, dirty man," she murmured. "Filthy," he agreed, sliding his hands lower to fondle her buttocks. Ida continued downward, running her soap through the curly dark hairs that surrounded his sex. You require vigorous washing. She slid the bar over his cock, from the base to the tip, swirling it around the head. Up and down, everywhere. Fuck yes, Nick growled. Filthy man with a filthy mouth. Clearly I need to scrub harder. He reached a hand between her legs, parting and stroking her. Ida squirmed against his fingers, sighing in delight as she continued to pleasure him. Her hands worked him harder and faster, until an incoherent sound broke from his throat. Ida, please, he begged. I need you. She abandoned the soap and shifted to take him inside of her, riding his thrusts, controlling the speed and the angle. Water sloshed from the tub. Installing one of these, Nick choked out. Today. Yes, Ida gasped, rocking faster, feeling the tension nearing its apex. Nick clutched her, matching every motion, moving as if he were a part of her, as if they'd been made to be one. Love you so much. Ida threw back her head and let the orgasm take her, floating on the bliss, feeling and hearing Nick's satisfaction around her and inside her. When the climax had spent itself, she sank into the water, sagging against his chest, weary and content. I love you too. He stroked her hair. Bedroom, bathroom, dressing chamber. What other rooms will I have to redesign to account for our amorous exploits, do you think? All of them, except my workshop, though I suppose you must design that regardless. He laughed and kissed her cheek. This was perfect, here in his arms, her body warmed by the water and her heart ablaze with love. They snuggled together in silence, sharing soft kisses and gentle smiles. The rattle of the door jarred her from her reverie. Before she could even move, her father stormed into the room, shouting something about debauchery and honor. For goodness sake, she shouted back, why must you all insist upon intruding on my privacy? All I wanted was time alone for a bath. You are clearly not alone. The look on her father's face was positively murderous. Her mother, however, was beaming. You damn well better marry her, Sharp, Sir Mortimer snarled, or I'll have your head, Earl or no. There's no need to fuss, Papa, Ida said. We have been engaged for a month and will soon be married. Can't be soon enough. Beneath the water, she laced her fingers through Nick's. Well then, how does tomorrow work for you? And we got one more chapter and a little short epilogue, so one more time. Good night, everybody.